Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews from Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia. You're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Franchise Interviews. For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 7 years, we've been asking the entrepreneurs of all in one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Adam Robinson, Chief Hireologist at Hireology. And the Hireology selection management platform simplifies the hiring process for franchisees, and we're going to talk to Adam about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 7 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs of all in one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Adam Robinson, Chief Hireologist at Hireology. And the Hireology selection management platform simplifies the hiring process for franchisees. Hey, Adam, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, Adam. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
Chicago, Illinois.
One of my favorite places. How's the weather there today, Adam?
It got real cold here. All of a sudden, we're sitting in the middle of winter, a little bit early, but, we're used to that.
Yeah, I guess you aren't you? Chicago's like that, isn't it? You just never know what you're going to get.
Nope, 3 seasons in a day. That's possible.
That's a great way to put it. Maybe we could start off, you could tell us about Hireology and, how do you help companies with the hiring process, Adam?
Sure. Yeah, Hireology is a cloud-based tool that helps owner-operators and their teams be really good at hiring the right people for their business. So we combine a really easy-to-use interface that's accessible online with algorithms we've developed over the years that help predict the fit for any employee for any given job. So the end result is franchisees and their teams have process, they have accountability to that process, and it produces better results and ultimately a better business for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important service, and that's why, we wanted to have you on the show, Adam. How did you get into this? I mean, how did you get into, this whole concept?
Well, I've been in the recruiting and HR space for close to 20 years in a variety of different roles in businesses. But, earlier in my career, I had the opportunity to work for a software company that provided channel management, co-op marketing support to large distributed brands like franchise systems and dealer networks. And I just lived from an operator standpoint in the middle of all of the issues that come up when brands can't make licensees do things they need them to do without providing them tools that are actually useful and add value. So watching that conflict, I lived in it and just had identified that the hiring front is a need that these companies have as well, and that's really where the idea was born.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, in studying your background, how you were able to take your experience and identify this need that could, certainly help the franchise community. Well, another thing that stood out, when I saw your name and I saw your title, it said Chief Hireologist, and I said, that's a pretty unique title, isn't it? And it sounds like it's reflective of your company culture. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, hiring is serious stuff, but we don't have to take ourselves too serious here.
Sure.
And we try not to. So our company is all about doing great work, but having fun while doing it. And I think, culture should and does start from the top of the organization. And, it's just my way of lightening things up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's so important too. Is employee satisfaction. I mean, it's so important, Adam. And there's a lot of, I guess, positive outcomes to employee satisfaction as well, isn't there?
Well, there's enough stress in a workday without someone like me making it more stressful because I'm taking things a little too seriously. And I think, we ask a lot of the folks in our organization. They're great. They respond and they deliver. And in my role is really to help them be successful, and certainly delivering a culture that's fun to work in is if not the most important thing, certainly a top 2 or 3 thing.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Who are your clients, Adam? I mean, independent companies, franchisors, franchisees, and how is the platform well tailored for franchising?
Yeah, we have customers across a variety of different industries, but where we've decided to invest our direct sales and marketing dollars are in franchised businesses. So we're the only platform on the market that specializes in the unique business model that is franchising, as everybody listening knows. They're just unique nuances to this industry that really matter when selecting a vendor. And in our space, it really comes down to co-employment risk and the nuances of franchise law. It really is the differentiator in how we operate. We protect our brands, and there are over 80 brands we're currently working with across over 2,000 locations now.
Wow.
We help our brands and their franchise partners build their best possible teams, and we do it in a way that does not increase risk to the brand by providing these tools to the individual location, which is, as we know, is a really big topic these days.
Right. It is interesting, Adam, in going, in doing the show, for this is almost 8 years now, but, our experiences in going into a franchise, and I never say any names, but, you can see sometimes the frustration, is you have a really powerful brand name franchise and the employee behind the counter sometimes just doesn't look happy, you know what I mean? And I think this is such an important service, as you said, and as you mentioned, I've never heard of a service like this tailored to, really the franchise industry, and the market is certainly big enough to really keep you busy for the next 50 years, isn't it?
Correct. Yeah, we see a big opportunity because the industry is large and it's growing, and what I like most about the franchise market is because it's a market made of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are optimists, and they're high energy, and they're fun people to do business with. And I just decided I would like to enjoy the people that are our customers, and just really just like them personally and like to be around them. And our industry is just full of optimism and growth and entrepreneurship, and those are things that I care a lot about. And so it's fun for us to sell to this market. It's this is a big challenge, but it's also a big gap in process. I mean, if you think about it, most brands have processes for everything. I mean, they'll, for lead gen to sign up a new franchise partner, to finance the deal, to do the site selection, to do the lease and the build out. Oh, by the way, you need to hire 50 people every year for the rest of your life. You're on your own for that, and then here's how we're going to collect the royalty stream. And there's the thing in the middle called continually staff your location at a 50% or greater turnover rate for the rest of your life. That's where the opportunity is, and posting to job boards just does not solve that problem adequately.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Does it matter on the industry, Adam? I mean, I think we're up to, again, you probably know just as well, 75, 80 industries. I mean, how important is the industry for your particular business or platform?
Well, I would say it this way. If people are the differentiating factor in your business, we're the right solution for you. If your sole concern is scheduling to mitigate Affordable Care Act impact on your business, we're not the right solution for you. Right. But if there are solutions that are tailored more toward that. And certainly we can help with those components, but we're the best value for customers and brands that say, the people are our product. And we want to make sure that our brand is enforced and that our employees live that brand every day. So what tools can make sure that our franchise partners do that each and every day? That's what we do.
That's fantastic. Has the experience of industry been different for you, Adam? I mean, whether it's food industry or the automotive industry or whatever industry it may be. I mean, have you noticed differences in the different industries?
Well, the differences are that, the automotive-based businesses tend to be a little larger in revenue footprint than the others. And I would say, generally speaking, have a higher concentration of multi-unit operators than do others. Point. And from our standpoint, multi-unit operators are our highest engaged customers because they've got to scale the talent process across lots of locations, and technology is really the key to doing that. So multi-unit operators will be 30% of our business, but the rest of the business are standalone single location stores or outfits that are just working to build their best possible team.
That's great. Maybe we could jump to franchising and some of the hiring challenges. Adam, what are some of the top hiring challenges franchisees experience?
Well, if you ask franchisees, what they'll say is, finding enough qualified people is the number one issue. Yeah. But that's really a symptom of other issues, and I think it's just because our industry, HR technology, our industry has done a really good job of selling to corporate buyers, HR directors, and big corporate buyers. But that's not our market in franchising. That's not how the franchise market works. We have owner-operators without HR teams, and they don't care about protecting turf in HR or doing better administrative tasks. They care about getting the right person in the right spot when they need them. And, our industry just hasn't been built that way. It's really fragmented with thousands of vendors, and it's pretty confusing for someone that just wants to make this easier. And so, the challenge is honestly, navigating the vendor landscape for your average Main Street franchisee is pretty difficult. And so what we've sought to do is just make this really, really easy to say, look, we understand you're looking for an outcome here. You want this to be as painless as possible, as cost-effective as possible, and deliver the right person. And we've taken it on ourselves to engineer a solution that handles a lot of the manual tasks behind the scenes so that franchisees can focus on talking to the right people and growing their business.
Sure, absolutely. You probably have, over the years, working with franchisees, some great stories. What are some of the top mistakes franchisees make in the hiring process, Adam?
I say, first of all, it's not committing enough time to do it the right way. And, I do a lot of speaking, and what I say generally is followed by an audible gasp in the audience is, if you're the CEO or owner of a franchise location, you should be spending at least 30% of your time focused on recruiting.
Wow.
30%. I mean, for high growth firms, that really rapidly growing or multi-site locations, adding locations, that's closer to 50%. And I just view the role, when I see this done well, and certainly this has been my own experience, when the CEO or owner is focused on the people and making sure the right people are there and always thinking about that and making it part of their week, they're going to spend 1 or 2 days a week doing it, and it's paying huge dividends. If the owner or CEO is moving from one crisis to the next and only focuses on hiring when their manager quits and they're in trouble, that's a recipe for a lot of pain. And if I ever get on a soapbox, it's just for CEOs or owners to understand it's going to take 1 to 2 days of your week every week to sit down, talk, network, interview, really think this through. There's no better return on your time than that.
Yeah, you make an excellent point, Adam. I mean, we talk so much about customers being a business's greatest asset, but I mean the employees as well. And there's a lot of cases, of course, to verify that that again a happy employee has there's great outcomes to that, and of course an unhappy employee there's negative aspects to that, and I think that's very interesting. How can a franchise system maintain consistency in their hiring processes?
Well, it has to be scripted. First and foremost, you've got to commit to a process and to content that's proven to be successful. And so you think of it this way. I always liken the hiring process to auto insurance.
Right.
So imagine what would happen to Allstate or State Farm if sometimes they forgot to ask you what kind of car you owned. Sometimes they asked, sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they ask you if you've ever gotten in an accident, and sometimes they don't. They'd be the world's most unprofitable insurance company because they don't have the information they need to make a good informed decision about your risk. The hiring process is the same way. It's simply the process of assessing the risk of whether or not somebody's going to be a fit or not. So if I ask the right questions that give me the right information that's predictive, and I do it the same way every time, I'm going to have a much more consistent and positive outcome than if I just show up to an interview and go, so I see you were from Michigan. Hey, my uncle knows your dad. That kind of stuff. The data shows that those kinds of interviews, the gut decision, like them, didn't like them type of interviews, have about a 50% success rate at best. And so what I'll jokingly say is save the time and just flip a coin. The statistics will be the same, and you'll save yourself lots of time.
That's great. I like that. So if a franchisee is experiencing high turnover, Adam, how do they pinpoint if it was a result of something that was done internally or externally?
If they've made a great hire?
Yeah.
Well, I think if I'm understanding your question the right way, the process will produce a consistent result. So the target is, 70% of the time, to 75% is as good as it ever gets.
Okay.
So first of all, just be prepared that 20 to 30% of the time you're going to be wrong, and that's world-class hiring.
Wow.
Quite frankly.
That's
So
amazing.
you're going to have 20, 25%, 30% misses, not because of the failure of the hiring process, but maybe it's a mismatch with the manager of that location, or maybe the market's not right, or maybe what circumstances change. I mean, those are uncontrollable in the hiring process. They're controllable management-wise, but the hiring process can get you 70 to 80% of the way there at best. But if you follow the same prescribed path and use tools that are shown to be predictive, you will get there. You just have to commit to it.
I guess the whole thing too is keeping those employees, right, Adam? I mean, once you have that great employee, I guess it's the franchisee's responsibility to also maintain that employee, right? I mean, do you guys get into that as well?
Well, we find in our data, and this is corroborated with other data points in the space, I mean, employees don't quit because of money, and they don't quit because of anything that beats this one. They quit because they don't get along with their manager.
Wow.
And, in a average QSR, employee turnover costs about $5,600 a head by some estimates. In the higher wage technician-driven businesses like home health care or automotive or tax prep, construction, these kinds of real estate, where the wages are higher, that number could be 3 or 4 times that. So the question is it worth $5,000 a head to make sure I'm keeping great people? And that, the step one is make sure you hire the right people on the front end, but step 2 is make sure you're giving them clear instruction and feedback in a work environment that they can do well in. And, to the extent that's possible, some industries more so than others, it's possible, but, that's the leak in the bucket that really hurts. When great people leave and it was savable, those are the unforced errors that really cost a business growth and profit.
Yeah, I think that's well said. So how can franchisees simplify the hiring process, Adam?
Well, the first thing they're going to want to do is admit that it's a problem worth solving. So, what we find is 90% of the customers are using that start with us are using email and in Craigslist or Indeed as their process.
Right.
And, it works, but it's not scalable. So the first thing you have to do is just admit there's a better way to do it. And if you agree that people are important enough to invest in this kind of a process, then really it's just a function of understanding, what you need to be focused on, and then automating as much of that as possible. So, finding tools that will post jobs to lots of places versus you having to do it manually, tools that will help you immediately survey or pre-screen candidates without you having to manually do it, right? So, reduce the amount of time spent interviewing people who after 5 minutes you probably should never have invited them in the first place. Technology can save all of that time for a franchisee. And so, really it's just making sure that they're implementing a tool that they know saves them time on the front end. That's the biggest return on investment is just in the administrative savings for these guys.
It's interesting, Adam. Talking about technology. I remember a while back I applied for a teaching position in a business school, and I remember the person in HR saying that they got over 1,000 resumes. And I said, "Oh my God! Like, how do you actually go through all of those resumes?" What are some of the red flags to look for on resumes?
Yeah, it's a great question. There are a bunch of them. First of all, you just understand that resumes are a marketing document. They're not they're not the truth. They are oftentimes versioned specific to the job that somebody's applying for, and so just know that you're looking at a sales one-pager with a resume. But here's what's really interesting, and I like to do this. What people can't lie about is their LinkedIn profile. I mean, that's a public document, and what we see is resumes don't always match up to the LinkedIn profile in terms of job titles or dates of employment. And so just particularly for assistant manager or manager roles or anyone handling money in the business, you can do a quick comparison to a LinkedIn profile and just see if there's any consistency. So that's red flag number one.
That's interesting.
The second red flag, in this one, the recession has kind of mitigated this one to a certain degree, or made it harder to use. But, I just find that if I can't get a good answer on gaps for employment or why somebody left a job and what really happened, I generally see that as a red flag. Anyone who's been pushed out of a job, meaning involuntarily terminated or let go twice in any 10-year period, it's generally indicative of a pattern, and doesn't mean they're not a good employee. It just means that they may have a hard time being managed or getting along with others, and a lot more work is required there. So, just gaps, inconsistencies, and then just understanding why. If people can adequately explain why they left and are freely giving you a reference to follow up on, generally that's a good thing. If people are unwilling to connect you with their former manager, that's generally all you need to know.
Yeah, I think that's very. I particularly like what you said about the whole LinkedIn thing. I mean, it does. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? It seems like also, I imagine, Adam, that whether we're talking about franchisees, franchisors, or independent businesses, I suspect that a lot of the decisions or the hiring decisions are based on a gut feeling in the hiring process. Explain to us how that can be beneficial, how your system kind of takes away from that gut feeling, doesn't it? It becomes more systematized.
Well, it adds data. So gut feel is predictive. I mean, in the research has shown that some of us have pretty good intuition when it comes to this stuff. Some of us not. Gut feel is part of it, certainly.
Okay.
But I say gut feel is the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So if I've run my process effectively and I've gotten down to two candidates and all the data tells me that they're both capable, my gut will break that tie.
Right.
But if I'm just using gut feel as my decision, I'm missing over half of the picture. And again, it'll be a coin flip at best. So gut feel generally is all about likability and connection to a personality type or a work style. Meaning I like you, I like what you're saying, how you speak, how you look, and the way you present yourself. Those are all really important things. But if that person can't do the job at hand, I will be really frustrated with this person that I got along with in the interview very quickly.
That's interesting. What are the differences from your experience, Adam, because you've been doing this a long time, in the hiring process, whether we're talking about millennials or Generation X or baby boomers, have you noticed any key differences?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest topic out there right now is this generational shift. And some really interesting stuff I've picked up at some events recently, and I guess I didn't quite realize the size of this millennial generation or fully appreciate it. And I was talking or listening to somebody in the automotive space talk about the fact that the purchasing power of millennial generation will pass that of the baby boomers by 2017.
Wow.
So you think about it, not only is this going to be everybody's largest customer base in 3 years, it's also going to be the largest talent pool in 3 years.
Wow,
and it's going to accelerate. And what you find, it has been a lot talked about millennials and attitudes toward work and things, but really the millennial workforce, and I'm speaking broadly here, this is a bit of a blanket statement, but craves independence, clarity of purpose, respect, and rapid advancement opportunity. They want to see the results of their work right away. They want to have the opportunity to own their work right away, and they want to be promoted fast. They want ownership. Those are all good things. Those aren't bad things. Those are good things. But for us in the franchise space, where we're accustomed to delivering systems and process and not a lot of room for innovation, I think we're going to find that we're going to need to let, particularly in our service-oriented industries, let this workforce improv a little bit within some guidelines and let them be great at what they're great at, and that's figuring things out and owning a result and delivering, what they view as, their job. They'll own it if you let them. But they get generally very frustrated quickly if they're not allowed to have a voice in the process.
Wow, that's fascinating. What are some of the best interview questions to ask for our listeners, Adam, from your experience?
Every interview I do, and I've thousands of these over the years, is I will just simply ask. I will start off a conversation by saying, look, by the end of your career, looking back, what are some things you want to have accomplished professionally?
Great question. Yeah.
Right, and then I'll ask, okay, so look out a year. Same question. What things do you want to accomplish a year from now? And then the third question I will ask is to say, okay, well, so given that, what compelled you to apply for this job? And what I'm looking for is a thoughtful, connected dots between this role and a goal. And the best candidates will have applied for the job with intention. And they will say, well, look, I want to break into the healthcare space. Maybe I want to open my own restaurant someday, or hey, I want to pursue a career in automotive technology or HVAC or whatever it is, and this is maybe a foot in the door. I want to learn. I want to work hard. That's a great answer. The answers that you find a majority of the time are, I don't know, I've been applying for jobs and this looked interesting. That's a less good answer, and I can tell you that I get lots of, what interview is this again? Sometimes, and those are the ones you don't want. So that's how I always start. And then, digging a little bit deeper, I always like to ask, professionally speaking, what's the one thing you think you're best at? And then I'll also ask, on the other side of that coin, when it comes to work, what's something that if you're asked to do that every day for the next 6 months, you're just not going to really be happy?
Right.
What's that one thing you don't like doing?
Yeah.
And then my favorite one-off question, and I ask this of everyone, is what's the biggest misperception that people have of you?
Wow. That's a great question.
And you can't prepare for that, and you can't lie about it. You can't. What people will do is they'll sit and they'll pause and they'll give you a really honest answer.
Right.
And oftentimes what happens is you as the interviewer are sitting there thinking something about that person that's a concern in your mind or a hesitation. And when you ask that question, what you're looking for is that person to address your concern directly by saying, people think I'm introverted, but really I'm not. I just get nervous and it takes me a couple of meetings. And if I'm sitting there going, this person seems pretty buttoned up, well, wow, now they're really self-aware. And now I know that's a coachable thing. And I just want to know if if they already know this about themselves. It's just a great, it works in conversations and cocktail parties. It's a great question,
I imagine. I think that's fantastic. I haven't heard of that one before, and I think that's great. I know you have a blog, Adam, and on your blog, you talk about some questions on a job interview are illegal. Yet I suspect some of these questions are asked all the time, and people just don't know that they're breaking the law. What are some of those questions?
Yeah, some of them are obvious, and some of them you wouldn't think are obvious. So if you cannot ask a female job applicant if she plans on having children. Mm-hmm. You cannot ask a female job applicant or any job applicant if they have child care at home.
Right.
You can't ask folks about age or any of the obvious stuff. Religion, sexual orientation, all of those things are all off limits. But here's the other thing. In a lot of states, you can't ask somebody if they own an automobile.
Wow.
And have that be construed as not discriminatory. The way you have to nuance that question to stay within legal guidelines is to say, this job requires reliable transportation to and from customers' homes. Is that a requirement that you're able to meet?
I see. Right.
So somebody could theoretically take taxis, all over town if they didn't have a car and meet the guidelines of the role. And those are the ones where, you push it to the edge a little bit, but but by the letter of the law are things you really shouldn't be asking. I mean, what gets people in trouble is going off script, and if you're following a script and that script is legally compliant and vetted, you really have nothing to worry about. When you start improvising, that's when you get yourself into trouble.
And you put your foot in your mouth, sure.
Right, exactly.
What's the best way for our listeners to get more information on your services, Adam? Any websites you want them to go to? Any websites?
Thanks for asking. So listeners can visit us at Hireology.com. That's Hireology.com. And if they click the blog link, there's all sorts of free downloads and content on all of the things that I've talked about, and we hope people consume it and give us some feedback.
That's fantastic. I want to thank you again, Adam, for coming on the show, and I'd already like to invite you back next year as you continue to grow. I think this is a great service for the franchise community, and I suspect you guys are going to be servicing many accounts out there, and you're going to be very busy for the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for having me, and it was, come back anytime.
It was my pleasure. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919. Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822. Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, Franchise Interviews has been hosting franchise interviews for almost 6 years now and almost 300 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. Today you're going to get to hear from Art Collet, who is the president of Alpha Graphics, and Art has a wonderful quote. He says that franchising is one of the greatest inventions for small business, and he kind of expands why, so here we go.
Fantastic program. I mean, when I saw it, I said I thought this was very exciting for you guys, you know, and it's going to be interesting to watch it. I mean, it sounds like your franchise partners are certainly going to appreciate something like this, and I guess that's the benefit of getting into franchising as well, isn't it, Art? You know, is to, you know, you have a program like this, you know, a very strong program that the franchisees can really benefit from.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Marty, you know, you said something earlier, you know, I was saying earlier about, you know, that nearly 10 years of restaurant ownership. Mm-hmm. There were months, Marty, and we were not a franchise. There were months, Marty, where I begged for somebody to send a royalty check to, because I thought, man, if somebody could bring me some turnkey marketing programs, if somebody could bring me some training solutions that were already ready to go for the employees and how to hire them and who's the right person, how to recruit them, if somebody could bring me a process for creating more traffic at my restaurant or operational workflow and checklist. Marty, I believe, you know, and I've had people, great people like, Bud Hadfield, and I can, go down the list of just the names of people that have, are in my cell phone that I can call anytime. I mean, John Luther over at Duncan Brands and Jim Amos, who, led mailboxes, et cetera, and all these names. I think they I'm honored being on your show today, just knowing those guys.
Thank you.
People like that are people that you've interviewed. But
yes.
Franchising, I believe, is the greatest invention for small business ownership.
Yeah.
Because franchising doesn't change the fact that you're still a small business owner.
Exactly.
All franchising should do, my job as president of Alpha Graphics is to take people who have decided they want to be a small business owner and they want to do it in this arena of providing visual communication solutions, whether that's document solutions or marketing solutions. But my job as president of Alpha Graphics is just simply to take the hurdles that may be 6 feet high if you're out there on your own trying to do it yourself, and let's take them down to 6 inches. The hurdles are still there. You're still going to have employee issues. You're still going to have operational issues. You still need to have somebody. You're still going to deal with your financials in your business. And I think sometimes prospective franchisees forget that.
Yes.
They forget that they're still they may possibly think the franchisor is going to take those problems away. And there are some that we do remove off the table, but for the most part, they're all still there. We just have systems and approach and coaching and support to help you manage that. And now it's a little speed bump in the road in the road instead of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro.
Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising by Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
City sidewalk.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
It's time for today's Lucky Land horoscope with Victoria Cash. Life's gotten mundane, so shake up the daily routine and be adventurous with a trip to Lucky Land. You know what they say, your chance to win starts with a spin. So go to LuckyLandSlots.com to play over 100 social casino-style games for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Get lucky today at LuckyLandSlots.com. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.